Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to ESA. I'm Drakodan. Yeah, see, they're excited. So yeah, this is Astro Boy. Alright, let's go guys. This is Astro Boy Omega Factor GBA. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up developed by Treasure. If you've seen any of their other games like Gunstar Heroes, Guardian Heroes, you'll kind of know what to expect, but this is going to be a pretty little interesting game, and we're going to be doing the Birth category, which is like the new game category. So not the full game, but still, we'll go through this, and I'm going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so the plot of this game is incredibly convoluted and involves time travel and all sorts, so I'm not going to be going too much into the plot as I'm going through, but rather just talking about the gameplay. As I mentioned, this is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Astro has a lot of basic abilities, such as, jumping, punching, kicking, and a couple of little tools such as the finger laser, which we're about to see here. So this is useful for hitting enemies across the screen. You're also able to upgrade your stats whenever you meet new characters in the game. This game is built around meeting characters and learning about people's personalities and emotions so that Astro can grow. So the first character we'll get is in a couple of screens time. That's pretty poor enemy placement RNG, but it's a very minor amount of time. The thing about this game is that it's fundamentally quite simplistic, so a lot of the time loss and time gain is in very small degrees. If I'm ever talking about something going badly and losing time, I more often than not mean in the region of a couple of seconds. So this is bad RNG that I'm getting here. The cars can either go high or low, and I get an unavoidable recoil there. But it's fine. So here's the first hidden character that we meet. There's a lot of characters just hidden throughout the maps. A lot of them are optional to get upgrade points. And you can see there's a lot of stats that you can choose to upgrade. For the purpose of the speedrun, you want to, at the start of the game, upgrade nothing but the laser. The laser is the main boss killing attack, and it's situational when I want to use my super attacks. You've just seen a couple of the super attacks. On the traffic light, I use the arm cannon, and here I'm using the machine gun on R and L respectively. The machine gun is very weak, but it's a screen-wide attack that can be situationally good for crowd control, where the arm cannon is a pure damage-dealing attack, and it'll be my main boss-killing resource. It's situational whether I want to use it, though, because of the pretty much 2 seconds of startup animation every time I use it, so against weaker enemies, such as these guys, it's just not worth it to use it in most situations. Come on, guys. Work with me here. Alright, there we go. We're also able to boost like this using the jets. The more you upgrade the jets, the more times you can use it consecutively without landing. But the useful thing about this is that it makes me intangible. You can see I can go through enemies, and it also makes you completely invulnerable while you're boosting. So we can just ignore a lot of enemies like that. Now this screen has spiders coming on from the left, right, and top of the screen respectively. They come on in relatively fixed timing as long as I'm maintaining the same rate of killing them. Come on, alright. So one more up here. Okay. There's 3 more still. Come on, alright. A little messy, but that's fine. So now we come to a mini-boss, and this is what I mean by the arm cannon being a large damage dealer. 3 punches, and then 2 arm cannons will finish this thing off. And this is with the arm cannon, the laser stat in general, being barely upgraded. We're just going to pump all of our upgrade points into the laser early on. Since I want to menu quickly to upgrade, I do need to make sure I don't accidentally upgrade the punch or a different stat, because I can't reassign upgrade points. Once it's assigned, that's it for good. So this boss, when I've got 2 laser upgrades, there's 4 cycles of just doing a single punch followed by an arm cannon. The 4th cycle I have to time a little carefully. Alright, that's fine. He's going to jump up here, but he's not going to have enough time to crush me on the top of the screen. Yeah, that's fine. We can get crushed underneath him, though, and it does no damage at all and clips you back up. That's interesting. So this game does have a few auto-scroller sections. These are semi-fixed in rate. The enemy waves are going to be the same, and you expect these to more or less take the same amount of time. But each enemy wave only starts when the previous wave has been completely cleared off screen. So while these are basically fixed length, I'm still trying to clear the waves as fast as possible, like knowing where the enemies come on screen so that I can start the next waves as quickly as possible. And there's a couple of waves where I'm needing to use specific strats, and even in a couple of cases using a super attack in a specific way. So, okay, so for instance, I could have killed that enemy a little sooner if I'd killed it on the way up. It's like, I say, very, very small optimizations in these auto-scroller sections. And there's a mini-boss coming up here, which I'm just going to sit in a specific spot and wait for the health bar to appear before I trigger the arm cannon, and then it's just 2 arm cannons in a row. Because the duration of the arm cannon is much longer than what I need to actually finish it off, so it's generally a little better to just start the arm cannon as soon as possible to make sure that I'm dealing damage from the first possible frame. So coming up on another mini-boss fight here, there's a little bit of positioning that I'm going to be trying to use on the first phase here. This thing tries to loosely track you as you move around the screen, but I want to end the first phase with it as close to the center of the screen as possible. That should be okay. Okay, that could be a lot worse, yeah, that's not too far off the center. And now for this second phase, as I deal more damage to it, it's going to get progressively bigger, but using the arm cannon and being in this animation gives me some situational invincibility. I don't fully understand how it works, when it makes you invincible and what it makes you invincible to, but I'm able to pass through the boss's body if I need to, but with some positioning we can just take care of it like that. And you can see just how much this game lags as well when there's enough action going on. This is quite a lag-intensive game. There's some lag reduction strats that we use later on. So this mini-boss is honestly a bit of a joke. 3 punches and an arm cannon and that's it. And we just get another upgrade point to keep boosting the laser. Alright, so now we've got a dark room here where I can't see because I don't have any points in the hyper sensor, but I already know the layout of this maze, so it doesn't matter. So there's a strat that I discovered yesterday, which is probably in the region of half a second faster, which I'm going to attempt here. Okay, yeah, that'll probably still trigger, yeah. If I boost to the right before firing the laser to destroy an obstacle there, it just means I have to travel a little less afterwards, and it makes it a little more manageable to do that traveling. So 1 punch and an arm cannon to take care of this guy. I need to place a fairly careful boost when these next enemies come down to avoid a recoil. There we go. So if you mistime that and are actually damageable when those guys land on you, it's another long, unavoidable recoil animation. This screen is a little bit irritating. There's bats and bees that come on, and there's an upgrade point that's very missable in the background. Right, so just for safety, I'm going to use the machine gun. It's screen-wide, it'll automatically get the upgrade point for me, and it damages all the enemies as well. So the way this screen works is that one of the other runners of this game, Cherokee, did some testing and found that the bats will keep infinitely spawning until you've killed enough bees. I can't remember exactly how many it is, maybe something like 14. That was actually a pretty good section. Basically, you need to kill enough bees before you prioritize the bats, otherwise they'll keep spawning. So by killing enough bees first, it allows me to minimize the number of enemies that I need to take care of. That's a neat little optimization I used there, going to the very side and turning right, and timing when to trigger that. If I mistime that, I'd take another long recoil, or whatever. So this is Pook. He can go between 4 different animal forms. He always cycles between the 4 forms that he has at the start of the fight. This one I have to time a little carefully because the fish tries to immediately go under the floor. It's pretty easy to mistime the laser here since he's not vulnerable whenever the green fire is active. And now I want to see the lion as little as possible. Now he's going to randomly cycle through the forms. The lion is a little bit of forced time loss every time it appears. So he's only got 1 more chance to go back to the Leo form. Please. Okay, that's good. That's actually good RNG. That's about as good as that fight can go, which I'm pretty thankful for. Okay, so coming into stage 3, it's taking us straight up into space. Like, the plot reason for this is that, oh, there's something going on the moon on a research station, so Astro, get up there and check it out, because you're a robot. You can survive in these harsh environments really easily. So I also didn't miss menu there when I put that point into shot. That's so that I can do this. Because with 1 point in shot, that will immediately kill all those enemies, and it saves a little bit of time. I'm also going to use it again once these enemies all come on screen here. Shot is the second stat that I'm going to be upgrading as the game goes on as well, so it's getting a head start into upgrading shot. So by waiting here and letting the enemies come on screen gradually, I can hopefully cluster everything together and have a much easier time clearing these out. Otherwise, these guys basically randomly appear at the borders of the screen, which if you're jumping up and making a lot of progress through here, that can make them spawn very widely apart. That was a neat little thing discovered by Sonic Star. and I'm struggling with this last enemy. Of course it was the last enemy. Yeah, that's one of the most annoying sections of the game to play well, in my opinion, because the enemy placements are still kind of pseudo-random. So I also did some timing yesterday of whether it's faster to use punch combos or arm cannons here. Kind of when I was saying about the arm cannon has the unavoidable startup animation. With optimal execution with both variants for those two enemies there, it's about 20 frames faster to use punching, so yeah, it's really silly. But whenever there's groups of enemies like this, it's just flat out faster to use the laser. Particularly because the laser is so wide, it can just hit groups of enemies that are on the ceiling and ground like that, which is very useful. So 2 arm cannons here. There is one more enemy that's going to appear. There you go. And now the same thing on the bottom here. And then one more for another enemy that comes on here. So these enemies have different like color differences. Like they had like gray faceplates before. These ones are purple. The enemies are signified by the different colors like that, and they get correspondingly stronger. Purple is the strongest enemy class in the game. They are a lot bulkier, and they also don't stagger when you attack them, so I need to make sure that I don't actually get hit whilst I'm attacking them. One more arm cannon to finish this guy off. Alright, that's fine. So this is another room where I can't see properly because I haven't upgraded the hypersensor, but we can still see where to go. And another really confusing thing I'm going to do here is I'm going for an optional upgrade point here. We used to skip this upgrade point because we didn't think it was worth the time to get it. But for whatever reason, picking up this upgrade point massively reduces lag in this section here. Like, normally this section would be lagging very hard, but when I've got that upgrade point, it doesn't lag for some reason. I don't understand why. I didn't realize it until I was running 100% and I needed to get that upgrade point, but it works consistently and it saves a considerable amount of time. Like, the amount of time it saves in lag reduction is worth the time it takes to get that upgrade point alone, and it boosts a stat on top of that, so it's just flat out faster to get that point. Like, you can see here, this section is lagging a bit more. This is closer to what it would have been like in that last section if I hadn't gotten that point. This is pretty bad enemy placement, RNG, because I'm going to miss this next cycle. Can't really help it. They just come on randomly from each side of the screen. I'd prefer to stay on the right side, but you can't often help that. And they flit around and have such narrow hitboxes that you can't reliably use the finger laser either. The arm cannon would be more than wide enough, but again, I don't want to use the arm cannon on weak enemies if I don't have to because of it wasting time to start up. That's a bit low. Ah, yeah. I didn't really wait for the screen to unlock there. The screen always unlocks when the last enemies exit the screen, so once, yeah, you can see once those guys exit the screen, that's when the screen unlocks. So here's a quote-unquote boss fight with Atlas, Astro's main rival of the game. We just start phase 1 with 2 arm cannons, and the situational invincibility means I don't get hit by his huge laser cannon there. I'm also going to push him into a specific spot to start the second phase, because ideally I want to end the fight with us both in our starting positions, so that there's less travel during the cutscene. So Atlas comes basically back to where he started. Yeah, very little movement there. So stage 4 takes us to the South Pole. It's got the first robot president because, you know, the Antarctic is a very inhospitable climate, so it's much easier for robots to survive there. And it's under a human terrorist attack. So now we have to kill a lot of humans. So I used a little exploit there where the intangibility provided by the boost can make it so that you can slip by enemies because you become not solid. If you slip past an enemy and then you become solid when the boost is finished, something has to get forced towards the center of the screen because you and the enemy can't occupy the same space. So as long as you are like a pixel to the left of them, it will force the enemy towards the center of the screen, which is really useful for lining all enemies up to get hit by an arm cannon. That's going to be exploited in almost every stage throughout the rest of the run. Okay, this is actually pretty good placements for these platforms. They're just appearing right where I need them. Okay, I won't say no to that. So 1 arm cannon and then just finishing this last platform off with the finger laser. Please. Alright, there we go. And I need to go all the way back to where we came because now there's a nuclear tank approaching the South Pole, which we need to stop, which is itself a very pathetic boss fight because the finger laser is fully upgraded now, and the fully upgraded arm cannon is ridiculously strong. It's simply a case of, throughout casual gameplay, the developers no doubt expected players to, you know, experiment with the upgrade points, see what the different stats did, and you just gradually get stronger. But when you just prioritize the laser, it's just ridiculously powerful. Okay, nice little optimization on that section, clearing out those enemies a little sooner than I should be able to, and without needing to use the machine gun to clear them out. Again, avoiding the restart. The startup animation is very nice if I'm able to do that. Okay, decent. So one more wave from top and bottom. And now we can more or less just sit in this specific spot and not take damage. I need to do a little movement here for this spot. The amount of damage that I'm taking, though, is of absolutely no consequence. One of the reasons that we run on easy difficulty, aside from it being faster because enemies are a bit weaker, is that you can use a lot of very liberal damage boosting strats because there's very little that actually deals a significant amount of damage to you. Like, and the boss that's upcoming here, I take a deliberate damage boost on the main body. If I was playing on hard difficulty, that would just kill me in one hit, no questions asked. Even at full health like this, because I haven't been upgrading the life stat. It's one of the things that makes hard difficulty even harder to play just casually, that it's very tempting to upgrade the life stat so that you can at least survive a hit from something, but then you're not boosting your damage dealing stats, which is like, well, do you want to take an extra hit, or do you want to kill stuff faster and more reliably? It's very hard to balance. Also, yeah, that was a boss fight. Alright, so this is easily my least favorite stage in the game. It's a lot of different enemy waves. There's just a lot of... I mean, the beat-em-up segments are typically more fun to play, but these are not very fun enemy segments, particularly because of these guys. So I'm trying to exploit the kick here to cluster everyone together. When you kick an enemy, it travels across the screen, and they also, like, pinball each other and cause extra damage to each other, which is really nice. But I'm clustering them together so that I can arm cannon them. I can't really do this from across the entire screen because one of the annoying elements of this game is that when an enemy is off screen, they just don't take damage. So you can see that green enemy got pushed off screen, he just stopped taking damage. So I need to make sure that everyone is both on the same side and that they're all on screen, otherwise they just won't take damage from my lasers. Okay, so now that laser is fully upgraded, we start upgrading shot. I've only been using it a very slight amount so far in the run, and I'm not going to be using it for a while yet, but it's very important for the final stage. The final stage of this game is a boss rush, and the shot is very useful for the boss rush. So another auto-scroller segment here. So once again, I just need to know where the enemies are going to come on screen and take care of them as quickly as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go down to the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, go down to the bottom. Now there's an enemy in the middle, now there's an enemy near the top, now there's an enemy near the bottom. And it's just a lot of knowledge like this, just knowing exactly where to be at specific points. So kill this thing, move down. That was perfect for that wave. I don't think that wave can be done any faster than that. Okay. Exploit the intangibility from the boost, very useful. Alright, so now red enemies, top and bottom, yep. Perfect. Okay. Destroying those platforms as fast as possible isn't of paramount importance because of those enemies still being on screen, so playing optimally there doesn't necessarily reward you, unfortunately. So I would have... Nah, that's still fine. I still kind of damage boosted at the right time. So these enemies will detonate based on proximity, so I don't even need to fight these enemies, I just need to be close enough to them when they spawn, and they'll trigger on their own. For the next platforms that appear, I am going to use an arm cannon because they're quite a bit bulkier. There we go. Now this is one of the most annoying mini-boss fights in the game for RNG. There's two phases. The first phase is always going to go the same way, but once the cannon comes out from the bottom weak spot, it can use a variety of different attacks that have a different duration, and I only really want to see the longest one, which will save cycles. This is good. This is the attack that I need. This should hopefully just let me use 2 more arm cannons without it going back in. Alright, that's perfect RNG. There's a bunch of different other attacks it can use that are a lot shorter, make it invulnerable, and it forces me to use more arm cannon cycles, which wastes quite a considerable amount of time. Please, kill him. Arm cannon, thank you. It's difficult to judge whether that's going to kill those enemies sometimes. So this wave is a little irritating. The enemies randomly come on from either side of the arena, but because of the train car, you can't see where the enemies are spawning. So this is completely random where they spawn, but it's fine. For this next wave though, I do have a strat that I'm following using damage boost, so I wait to get hit by a laser, boost to the side. By that time, all of the enemies have spawned, so I can exploit the intangibility to make sure I get to the side of everything, and then just arm cannon across the whole screen, regardless of which side they've spawned on. And just 3 sets of that, and then we move on. So this is the boss fight at the stage, and again, quote-unquote boss fight. There's very little that's actually challenging with a fully upgraded laser. So I have to move a little to the right first before attacking, because the boss, Dead Cross, is getting pushed to the right. And again, if he goes off screen, he just will stop taking damage. So I need to make sure that the border of the right wall is at least on screen before I just keep attacking him, and that is that. So, coming up to stage 6, this is where the game's plot starts getting really crazy. It's been fairly conventional so far. We went to the moon and went to the Antarctic and stopped a terrorist plot, but now we get transported 30,000 years back in time to an ancient civilization, and there's an evil overlord that's trying to take control of everything, including the current timeline, and I'm not going to try and explain it. It's, like I say, very convoluted. And then when you start playing the New Game Plus category, you start doing time travel and going back throughout the timeline you've already established, and you start changing stuff, and yeah, it's a video game. That's the best way to describe it. But we're just going to worry about killing things as quickly as possible. So this wave is really irritating. I think that's too high. It's not too high, but that guy is on the wrong side. This is what I mean about I would really prefer if that guy had actually been pushed to the center, because then I wouldn't have had to do that extra attacking. It's, like I say, a little time loss. It's the sort of time loss that gets on my nerves with this game, but I'm grateful that there's very little in this game that is more severe than a couple of seconds time loss than that. So I use a little bit of a different strat there, where I actually used a couple of kicks instead of punches. The kicks individually are a bit weaker, but I did mention they do have the benefit of clustering enemies together. So it knocks the enemies into each other, and then they just cause compound damage as they knock into each other, which actually results in a quicker kill when they're all clustered in a corner like that. So movement, the room. If I touch these rolling wheels when I don't have the boost form, they will cause that. It knocked me the right way though, so that's not too bad. Okay, just knock me into the boss trigger, that's fine. So a little bit of an AI manipulation here. If I'm directly underneath this guy, Sharaku, when he starts, there's a couple of different special attacks you can choose to use, but by being directly underneath him, it forces a specific attack. This attack, this red snake that's going around, and as long as this thing is on screen, he can't use a massively time-wasting attack, which wastes at least 15 seconds. So that's a very consistent way to at least avoid time loss in this fight. It made going for world record in this game a lot more consistent when we didn't have to worry about whether he's going to use his huge time-wasting attack anymore. So, final stage now, we get back to the present, and the world is embroiled in human-robot conflict, and we have to destroy a group of the world's strongest robots. So hopefully he's going to use the laser to the right. Yep, so I manipulated that successfully, and now I can just use 2 arm cannons from here, and for some reason, the invincibility it gives me makes me completely ignore his own laser attack, so that's fine. So notice I haven't been using the shot so far yet, even though I've been talking about how important it is. The main reason that we want to upgrade the shot for the boss rush here is that I don't care that it's a screen-wide attack. I don't even care that it's a very weak attack. What I do care about is that the more you upgrade it, the longer it stuns enemies for. And this boss, in particular, is meant to run away immediately. after you damage him, but by stun locking him with the shot here, I can just use 2 more arm cannons and take care of him immediately. This fight is meant to take way longer than it is here, but we can just very consistently take care of it like that. And it's going to be the same for the next boss fight as well, where Brontus, the armored robot, is only vulnerable for short periods of time. Most of the time his core is completely hidden, and you can only like attack him after he's finished attacking you in specific circumstances. Like right now he's wasting time here and I can't hit him. Now he's still wasting time, and now he's using his laser. So now that the core is open, I can attack him. So now I want to use the shot to keep the core open for as long as possible. And I'm able to get 2 arm cannons in per shot usage. Gonna take a bit of a risk here and go for another... Okay, good. As long as I'm at least 1 pixel off the ground, that will connect with the weak spot. So if I was grounded there, that would have completely missed. So just enough time in that single cycle. And there's only 2 boss fights left in the run. The next boss, Epsilon, is thankfully a lot physically weaker than Brontus, but I do need to start the fight with a shot to see what type of action he's doing. It's signified by which arm he raises, and one of them gives him a lot of iframes, so I really want to see if I'm getting that one, because it will change how I need to play the fight. Okay, he's going for one of his other attacks. So now I've got a 1 in 3 chance to get an unavoidable recoil. He can choose to use 3 different attacks. If he sends a huge whale across the screen, I can't avoid taking damage on that. Okay, that's the best attack to use. So Epsilon went down very easily. So now that my 2 main stats are upgraded, I don't really care what I upgrade, so I just upgrade life because it's fastest. And we've got the final boss fight coming up here, Pluto, the world's strongest robot. Well, until we came along. Pluto is extremely bulky and has a lot of different attacks he can use, some of them very laggy. But it's still a relatively simple fight, and time is going to be when Pluto's life meter reaches 0. So just jump to avoid this. Another long, unavoidable recoil if the fire connects with you. Okay, that's a good attack to see, because that doesn't really generate lag. That bottom one's probably going to hit me. No? Okay. I'll take that. Big brain strats. Plasma? Yeah, now he's using plasma, but this time. So next finger laser will be time. Time. Are you serious? 26:34? Wow. That was 12 seconds behind my PB. And my PB is world record, so that was a really, really good run. Okay. And then you get 1 more upgrade point from Pluto, and then a few more cutscenes happen, and then the world ends up destroyed, so yeah. And then you get brought back from the dead, and then you start the time traveling stuff. Like I say, don't question it, just enjoy the game. And I hope you did enjoy the game. Thank you guys very much for giving me this opportunity. Shout outs to the Astro Boy community. Shout outs to everyone here supporting. Everyone who enjoyed the run at home, please do keep donating to our great cause. Thank you guys so much. And I will be back here tomorrow with Sparkster, actually, so yeah, that'll be a good run as well.